Welcome to the Half in the Bag Disc Golf Podcast, streaming to you as part of the Joe's Disc Golf Podcast Network. And here are your hosts, Ben, Joe, and RJ.
Welcome back, everyone, to Half in the Bag Disc Golf, a podcast where three of us friends get together, chat about disc golf for a while, and enjoy a few beverages. My name's Ben, up in Wisconsin, and today I am drinking a hint of pineapple and mango hard seltzer, because going out to the garage to actually get a beer was too much work, and that seltzer was in the fridge. So,
Solid.
cheers.
Yeah, solid. My name is RJ, and I am in Northeast Indiana. And I tried on the suit over the weekend for my upcoming cruise in the summer and realized that it was a little tighter than I wanted, so I am drinking a Michelob Ultra to watch my figure.
Aw, how cute. You mean Bud Light water has calories?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Also, I have a case of Michelob Ultra from a party a few weeks ago, so
Yeah, drink it before
might as well
it
drink
skunks.
what's cold.
So I'm drinking Slurm. For those of you who know Futurama, it is the fictional soft drink in that
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Otherwise, for realsies, it's the Southern Tier Blackwater Series Nitro Creme Brulee, and it is delicious.
I changed my mind. I want that. That
Yeah.
sounds way better than
Yeah.
a mango seltzer.
It's 10% by volume.
That's way better than my seltzer.
So it's-
half of that.
Also, that picture I sent you guys the other day, that something organic chocolate stout, that is probably my favorite beer ever. And it's organic. I don't give a crap about that. It is
So-
delicious.
So
It is
I will
so
say,
good. It is so smooth. It is like chocolate alcoholic milk.
so I think
But
it
I
was
love my dark beer.
Yeah, I think it was a week or two ago when Ben said that he was drinking one of the Hershey's Porter
Those are good too.
Yinglings. Well, when I went to go get my Mick Ultras, I found that they had cases of that on sale at my local liquor store, and so I might have picked up a case of that too.
Nice. Yeah, we're kind of getting out of the porters and stout season, at least in this
Yeah.
hemisphere.
I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I live all year in porter and stout season.
Oh, so do I do, but I'm talking
I
about
enj-
normal people.
I enjoy a good lager. That's
Yeah,
my
I'll
favorite
take that.
stuff.
Kind of
Yep.
in between.
Every
Yeah.
now and then a sour beer. Not often, but every now and then a sour. In the middle of summer when it's hot out.
Okay. And I'll make a face anytime I drink an IPA.
Oh,
every
yeah.
time.
Ugh.
Every time. I found some
thank
tolerable
you.
ones.
If
There are some
if
that
you're
are-
listening to this podcast for our thoughts on IPAs, I
Overwhelmingly,
think we would all
hate them.
prefer to drink water.
Yeah, bitter. Too bitter. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like,
But anyway.
they had right next to these like 90-minute session IPA, and I was like, oh God, no, chew your beer.
But aneway, we are
So
more of a disc
we're gonna
golf
interrupt
podcast
this
here.
beer podcast,
Yes.
disc golf podcast, and talk about our sponsor. Look at that segue right there, Reaper
Hey,
Discs.
we are
I
just
think
getting
I've
worse and
kinda got
worse
this.
every week.
Oh, the segues are getting worse, but the commercials themselves
But the commercials are getting better. Yeah.
Are we sure about that?
By comparison,
Ben.
the segues are
It
so
can't get
bad.
worse.
This was by comparison. The first one was rough.
Oh, that was rough.
Oh,
I feel
man.
bad.
But yes.
I don't think he listens to the Half in the Bag podcast, and if he does, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Thank you for being one of our 5 listeners.
Yes.
When we're 3 of the 5, you could be number
Yes.
4. But yeah, Reaper discs. Going back to what we're actually trying to talk
Yes.
Yeah. Great stuff. Tons of selection. I just got an email from them. So not because I'm anyone important, but because they send it to all their customers. Reaper Disc, they just resupplied, and this includes, and I'm just going to read through this, Eric Oakley Glow Metal Flake Exodus, Eric Oakley Tour Series Berg, Juliana Corver Infinite Contiki, Mint Discs Eternal Freetail, Skullboy Alpha, MVP Special Edition Neutron Uplink, The Volt, in both Neutron and Cosmic Neutron, Cosmic Neutron Photon, Fission Wave, Proton Octane, Proton Catalyst, Axiom Proton Vanish. There's a lot.
I'll say let him go. He's on a roll.
That's all MVP, right?
Well, we went from Mint to MVP to Axiom, which is made by. Now we're on to Discmania, the Neo Instinct, Discraft ESP Scorch, Innova Halo Gold Runner and Glow Roadrunner, and Halo Mako 3, and Star MD3, Prodigy the A1 300, D3 400, FX2 500, ThoughtSpace, Ethereal Synapse, and Aura Synapse. I don't know what half those discs are that I read because I don't throw MVP, Prodigy, ThoughtSpace. I know what the
I have a
Berg is.
ThoughtSpace that I want to try it at some point. I'm really
ThoughtSpace
excited
has
to try
like
it.
the really cool
Stamps.
artwork.
Yeah. I've got one that I want to throw it because it feels really nice in my hand, and I really want to throw it. But it's so pretty that I'm like, we gotta wait until the mud stops here because it is a muddy mess here.
Oh, it's terrible. I could talk about match play here in a second.
Yeah,
but with Reaper discs, I mean, constantly refilling their stuff. I'm getting emails generally at least once a week, sometimes twice.
Yeah, if not 3 times.
We're getting better. Like the supply for disc golf is getting really good, but it's still every now and then it's like not much and then everything.
Well, and I think with a lot of companies coming out with Tour Series discs, I mean, you kind of mentioned at the top the Eric Oakley and the Juliana Carver, like we're going to start seeing the Tour Series disc coming up, and it seems like that's always kind of a fun thing to look at. But I know Kayla and I got we bought some shirts from Reaper, and super comfortable.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually wearing my Reaper disc shirt. It's... this is the front of it. Obviously, the back is live by the tree, die by the tree. I thought that was appropriate for me.
Yes.
And it's super comfortable. And I mean, if you can't find a disc that you're wanting there, check out their apparel because their apparel is awesome. It looks cool. It feels great.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Big fan.
It's pretty awesome. Their flat rate shipping.
Yes.
$4.95 in the US.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Especially with all the shipping costs lately with everything else. So.
And shipping costs in general are just going up.
Yeah. And it's $4.95 flat rate.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you spend $15 on a disc or whether you spend
$100.
Yeah. It's not like some of the other companies that, you have to spend $75 to negate that flat rate shipping.
Yep. Yeah. And so they do a great job. And I'm happy to have them as a sponsor for Half in the Bag and for Joe's Disc Golf Podcast. And it's, like I said, I bought their stuff. They got some sweet stickers that they include with your order. And I got another one here.
Yeah.
I know the lights are making it look weird. And a nice handwritten note. Yep. And a whole bunch of good stuff like that. Plus, they keep you in the loop. Obviously, you can always unsubscribe if you want, but it's kind of nice to know it's coming out.
It was nice.
If you listen to us, there's no reason to unsubscribe from Reaper discs.
Agreed.
If you're subscribed to us.
Yes, just unsubscribe to us because it's not worth sticking around. But please don't. Please don't. We need all 10 of you to stay around.
We love you. Wow,
our viewership is up
to 10.
Yeah. So, you know what? We always do it at the end of the episode. Why don't you guys run through the where you can find us stuff now? Just because I can't imagine people are actually watching all the ends of our episode.
Ye of little faith. Well, you can always find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joe's Disc Golf, on Facebook /Joe's Disc Golf, and at the website, joesdiscgolf.com. There's also my separate podcast, anchor.fm /Joe's Disc Golf, or you could go to anchor.fm Half in the Bag DG, or just search Half in the Bag DG on all the major podcast places, Apple, Spotify, Google. If we aren't somewhere, it probably ain't worth it, but you could email us and try to get on.
Yes. And if you are listening to this and want to see our ugly faces for some reason, you can always find us on YouTube. We are under Joe's YouTube channel, YouTube / Joe's Disc Golf. If you are watching this and don't want to see our ugly faces, I totally understand. And Yeah,
wondering why
you
you
can
haven't
find
quit
us
the video version sooner.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at halfinthebagdg. There you can submit your Disc of the Week submissions. This week was my Thought Space Animus, I think is what it was, that I got from Reaper. And then also, if you have any listener questions, feel free to submit them to us via DM, tweet them at us, whatever. We're happy to take them.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, what are we talking about today, RJ? Go ahead.
My new justice.
Put you on the spot.
Oh, so what are we talking about today? Well, I think that Joe wanted to talk about the some disc golf that he played this week.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
So,
And then we'll talk about some disc golf that some other people who are slightly more advanced than us played this week. And
Yeah,
then
so-
I think we're going to try and wrap up with maybe finishing up our bags. Maybe not. We'll see.
I don't have those discs in here.
We talked
We
about
are
this, Joe.
so prepared.
Oh,
I can run out
man.
and get them.
That's right. It's
all right.
Joe's bag. It's a felon and a felon and a felon and a tilt.
And a criminal and a
No,
tilt.
no criminals.
Nope,
Those are
criminals
out
are
of
out.
Oh,
So-
Yeah.
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 We started last
Don't
year.
forget the triple X.
No, that's still a Tillman off of hole 8, deep in the right from the
Oof.
A position. Whatever.
So what? You threw it on an Annie on a forehand and
No, I threw it on a backhand flex, and the wind. So it was in a winter round, and so the wind just a bit above where you're standing, where the honeysuckle all blocks it. I threw it up on a flex line because I needed to get around the trees and then still come back, and the wind just took it and said bye bye, and I never
Wait.
got it back.
Wait. So you're saying a triple X didn't turn left on a backhand?
It was in my bag for a very long time.
It wasn't a triple X by the time Joe was throwing it.
No,
It was a lot closer to my Maverick.
No, not that bad. It would be like a lightly used felon, I'd say. But
Okay.
anyway, Chew, last
Yes.
year we started Meet Your Match Madness, which is a 64-man bracket that our club sets up. You just say, yeah, I want to be in it. And we do match play, one-on-one, tournament style, like NCAA. Last year, yours truly somehow made it to the Final Four and almost beat the guy who won it. I say almost. We went 23 holes on a 19-hole course. So there was a lot of pushes. And I went Friday. I know my days of the week. I went Friday and played. This is all on Facebook Live, the Fort Disc Golf Club. You can find it there if you want to feel good about yourself. There's a whole bunch of live streams, not just me, but everybody in the club.
And
The
if
guy
you
I
want to
played,
watch Joe's live stream, you can watch it, or you can find it on Half in the Bag's Twitter.
Yes. It was a ton of fun. We played 24-hole layout, and I won on hole 23. I mentioned it once during the round that I've only had, before this, one match finish in regulation. Otherwise,
I remember that
I've
last year.
I was always going at least 2 to 3 holes over, if not more, whether that's 18 or 19-hole courses. We have a 19-hole course, but that's because one hole can flood, and then you can still have 18. Yeah, I almost had my first ace on video, too. That was so close.
That was fun to watch.
That
It
was fun to watch, and then I got so sad on that hole.
It was 315 feet through my backhand, which you guys know me. I threw a backhand 315 feet
Oh, that was impressive.
with
Yeah.
accuracy.
I've never
Yeah.
seen you throw a backhand on that hole. I was very confused.
We
when
were
I was
playing
swimming.
blue.
He doesn't have a forehand?
We were playing blues.
Oh, I suppose blue. Where is the
Blue-
blue on that one?
To the left, where that
Yeah, that's not
there's a
good.
Oh,
big old
so there
tree
is-
that you just
You have
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
no
not a
room to
good-
flex absolutely no room to flex a forehand, huh?
I
Yeah,
could
you'd
flex
have to turn
something
a-
out, but the problem was the wind. If I tried to flex something out, it was going to St. Joe Road.
Oh,
And
okay.
it
Yeah.
was not going to come back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
a nice hyzer flip too. A hyzer flip with my escape. Went
Nice.
I
out.
love the escape.
It's
I
a
love
great
the
disc.
escape.
Went out and I'm watching it. I'm thinking in my mind, like, at first I was like, oh crap, I missed my line. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. If I sneak it just in front, there's 2 guardian trees
Mhm.
that are.
I
that
hit
can
them
get in the
all
way.
the time.
Oh, so
All the time I hit them.
half the time I plan to crash into them because it's still
Yeah.
a decent spot.
Yeah, you get like a
Yeah.
20-foot putt if you hit those trees.
I was like,
If
okay,
that.
if I beat the guardian tree, I'm gonna be parked. This is gonna be great. Oh, I beat it. Cage, smacked the cage, and bounced like 25 feet away, and then I got big putted because the guy, he couldn't miss.
No,
Oh
no,
my
he
gosh,
could
could
not.
that's some of the
miss.
best putting out of an amateur I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it was really
he
good.
big putted me from like 70 feet away in a headwind,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and then I missed
Yeah.
a 20-footer low.
And the funny thing was, that wasn't his first putt of the day. I mean,
no,
he kept up with you because he was hitting 40, 45, 50.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Just like there were 10
I would-
footers. Like
I
there
would
was
was
no
love
doubt
to
about it.
see.
I
I
specifically
would love to
picked
see his circle
this
two
hole.
Mhm.
percentage
Yeah.
because it was
Oh,
crazy.
it was great.
Yeah,
I
it was fun to
specifically
watch.
picked this course because I knew I had a bigger arm than he did. So the way ours is set up, if you are a better seed, so closer to 1, you get to pick the course, and you get to pick, because we have multiple layouts, so you get to pick the layout. The person with the worst seed, so higher to 64, gets to pick the OB rules. And the course I picked has like basically no OB.
Or,
Shove has,
when
like,
there is OB, they're very obvious. If you're in the road, you're OB. If you're not in
and
the road,
from
you're
the
fine.
blues, it's really hard to get to OB.
Yeah, there's only like 2 holes that it really comes into play.
And even then, like, you really have to miss your line from the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, well, it was stroke and distance, and it did not come into play at all. He is a phenomenal woods golfer, shoots
Mhm.
up to the pro level with the local pros easily.
Yeah,
He
the
tied
woods.
Jay at 13 down at the last tournament. That was at Mosier.
Oh, was that
Yeah.
that one that I played in?
Maybe?
Probably.
the one before the tune-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he crushes it. And so
Yeah.
we ended up playing 6 holes in the wood, and he was up 2 strokes or 2 points on me, and we came out of the woods tied.
Yeah,
He-
you
he
even
could not
lost
catch
it.
a break.
You gained 1, lost 1, then gained 2.
Yeah,
It's like really you gained 3 strokes but lost 1 in the woods. Like
yeah,
there was a lot of turnover in that woods.
Yeah.
it was bad. I got
That woods can
real
be really
sneaky
tricky.
lucky.
From the blues, it's a much more difficult course
Yeah.
for sure. From
I've
the reds,
never
it's pretty
thrown-
straightforward. Hyzer. From the blues, you gotta hit your
Yeah.
lines a little bit tighter.
Mhm.
It was, what was it? A, B, C. I've never played blue C.
I've never made it through blue sea. I've played it and I've hit that tree every frickin' time.
I made it down to like
Which one?
where I
which one is
usually
C?
end up hitting a tree on from red.
C is
Like-
where you have the 2 trees on either side of the fairway and you have to try and split them.
Yeah. It's the one you're
Is it going towards the
downhill
road?
to the right.
Yes, towards the
Okay,
road,
yeah,
dog
yeah,
leg
okay.
right at the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dog leg right.
Yep.
Maybe
Yep.
70 some feet.
370 from blue.
No,
No, I think
like
it's-
70 feet. Like once you
Oh,
get
from the road.
down
Yes.
to the
Yeah, yeah.
dog leg.
Yes.
Once you get down to the dog leg, it's maybe.
And
Yeah,
then-
from
Yeah,
reds,
yeah.
it's not hard to get past those guardian trees. From
No.
blue, those guardian trees look narrow. Like it
I mean-
looks like a
And
5-foot gap.
Even
down
from
the
I
road.
hit that.
reds.
I hit that tree and left myself in a decent spot. The other
Yeah,
one
you did a good up from there.
I was really impressed with my shot on
E.
E.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
And then
I
F
if I
coming
beat
out.
that
You
tree,
looked
I'm
good on
pumped.
F coming out. You looked good on
Yeah.
F coming out too.
Yes, if I
Mhm.
beat that tree for D, I'm parked
Mm-hmm.
because it was a late tree, and then I had a great up, and I hit that skinny ass little tree that's about 4 feet from the basket, and
D
I
is the
had
worst.
a 25-foot rollaway. That was brutal.
Yeah.
D is the
That was
absolute
so bad.
worst
I think you
because
lost
it
a
is.
stroke on B, didn't you? You lost a stroke and then gained 3 back at the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I took one on A and then lost it on B.
Yeah, took one on A,
Yeah.
lost it on B, and then came back on
Yeah.
EF or DE.
I think
EF.
so.
Because
Yeah.
D you
So-
had the roll away.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Joe,
EF you gained them.
question for you.
Yeah.
You said that you chose this course because you felt like you had a bigger arm.
Yes.
Um,
And that's why I chose the blue layout, which for us, the blue layout, there's a couple holes that are over 600 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
much longer.
One that's pushing 700. There's a couple holes that are actually about 100 feet shorter, but overall the distance is longer than
Mhm.
red.
well, and those holes that are shorter, I would argue, they have a tougher line.
Yeah.
Not 15. 15,
one's
that's
15?
after shooting. That's the near ace I had was 14. 15,
Oh, yeah,
you're
yeah.
up like 150 feet.
Yeah, and it actually makes
But-
the line on that one a little bit better.
Yes.
But
That
on
hole
16,
becomes
you
easier.
get the monster hole.
On 16, you walk behind 15's tee.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
you
you played a
almost
good
tee
round.
off from 15 to
Mhm.
throw for 16. That's
Yeah. As a
almost
match,
700 feet.
As a
Mhm.
match, it was a really, really fun match to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, it was
I don't
a
know how
lot
it
of
was to
fun
play in.
watch.
Probably nerve-wracking as hell to play in.
Nerve
Fun, but
wracking,
nerve-wracking.
and I was just pissed because I'm like, beautiful, I got this 15 footer. He's got to make a 60 footer. Shit, he made it. Perfect, I'm parked. He's got to run this. He made it. Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he was playing really well. Hats off to him, though.
I mean, no, it was a great match.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one thing that I really love about match play is you can be aggressive as hell on the green for the most part,
Yeah.
and it doesn't punish you.
Yeah, because that happened to you, would have been on like 12.
Probably.
Whatever it was, he was parked and you had to run it and you hit a big putt
Yep.
because you're like, or no, 9. Sorry, 9.
Yes, the elevated basket with
Yeah,
the
he was
drop off
parked.
behind.
Yeah. Normal tournament, you're laying that shit up.
Mhm.
Probably.
Because
Yeah.
you're losing 2 strokes on the comeback
Oh,
Yeah.
if you miss it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, why not run it? Who cares? You know,
Hit it, banged it.
if I
He
lose it, I'm
parked
going
it.
to lose the whole. He's parked. He's going to get the birdie either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well
the
run
same
the
thing
25 footer
happened
there.
on, was it 10? Where you almost went OB.
Yeah, I don't know how I stayed in. Holy crap.
Luck, Joe.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so when I got up to that, my disc wasn't touching the asphalt. It was about 3 inches from the asphalt.
It was
Joe,
that close.
language.
It was
Jeez.
that close. I
But
couldn't believe it. But I set up
Ugh.
provisional because
yeah,
I mean, that's the right thing to do. If you're uncertain, as a side note, if you're uncertain if it's something's inbounds or you're not sure, throw provisional, figure it out. You're good. You're never going to be wrong throwing provisional.
Yep.
so
But make sure
Let's,
everybody knows it's a provisional.
Yes.
Because if you don't
Yes.
state that ahead of time, then you got a whole lot of arguing.
Then you got a whole lot of
Yes.
strokes coming your way.
Yeah.
yes.
But anyway,
Yes.
let's transition to some professional disc golf here.
You mean better
Yes.
disc golf?
Not necessarily. You had a fun match. I don't know if it was as
Yeah.
fun as the finish for the FPO, though.
No. And it
That
wasn't
was-
as
Well,
fun as that throwing
and the
big putted
MPO.
an entire card last year.
Yeah. What were you saying now?
Oh,
Or-
yes. I said in the MPO. Okay, I gotta be honest, if I would have realized that Ricky had won every Texas state that he has ever played in,
Yep.
I would have definitely picked him on my skip ace.
He also
Um,
shot a fantastic round.
He
Yeah,
did.
because
He came,
Kelvin had a good lead on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he came from he beat Calvin by 3 strokes to beat him by 1 for the
Yeah.
tournament.
Yes.
Why don't we
So,
talk about the
since-
men since we're on
Yeah,
it?
let's
Yes.
get into the men.
And that scrub Macbeth. What the hell?
Oh my gosh, right?
Washed up. He took his teammate Chris Dickerson and tied with 8th. God
Ugh.
bless America.
So let's talk about the 10 or about the top 10. We
Yes.
said Ricky won. Calvin came in second. This is a name I have never heard before. Greg Barsby,
Yep.
Joel Freeman, and James Conrad tied for 4th. Jeremy Colling finished 6th. Look at him go.
That's
Gannon Burr finished 7th. shooting a very respectable 7 down on the last day.
Yeah.
And yeah, Macbeth, Dickerson, and Emerson Keith finished all tied for 8th.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Greg Barsby is a very, very technical disc golfer. I'm a little surprised just because of the lack of woods at the Thorn layout. It's not like
It's
it used
still
to be.
pretty wooded. It's just a lot
not
longer
like dogwood.
and less
Dogwood
light.
is-
Dogwood is
brutal.
all woods.
Yes.
Dogwood is
Yes.
you don't see the sky.
This is chauve, essentially. Roughly. I mean, compared to what dogwood is, that's how wooded it is. Very dense, very tight technical lines.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Barsby-
happy for him, don't get me wrong.
When Barsby plays well, he plays very well.
His putting is what I think really kicked butt.
Yeah, I didn't look at the stats. I actually did not watch really much of any of the men, to be honest with you.
Yep.
It just seemed like every day I was busy in the evenings, so I didn't really have a chance to watch the men go, but I was able to kind of watch a lot of the women's coverage. So
Yeah.
I knew Kelvin had a pretty big lead going into day 3.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised to see Ricky on top, but then I realized it's Ricky, and I wasn't all that surprised to see
Yeah.
Ricky on top.
I'll be honest. My wife and I had a lot going on this weekend personally, so I did not get to watch this at all. And then Sunday,
Yep.
we were doing a bunch of housework and stuff, and went to Menards, which I think I will die on the hill that Menards is just the male version of Target. For
Can't
those of you that have never
disagree.
been to a Menards,
You're missing out.
yeah, definitely.
Not sponsored.
No.
Barsby's putting
Just give it
actually
time.
wasn't as good as I would have thought. 79 C1X, 38 from Circle 2. But here's what really helped him
Scramble
out.
game.
0% or 0 OB rate. And I know
that's
some
a
people
course where
struggle.
OB can hurt you.
And his
Mhm.
scramble, according to UDisc, now these are volunteers, nothing against volunteers, but they say he only had to scramble twice for the whole tournament.
I mean, that makes sense, though. If you have 0 OB, especially on a course like that, it feels like if you're scrambling, it's because you went OB and have to find your way out. If you just play
Or some
good,
of those wooded
consistent
holes.
disc golf sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah,
he did not
I mean-
take a bogey on the last round.
He took
So
one
that's-
bogey in 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Hole 11
That'll help.
Mm-hmm.
in round 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
just played it doesn't look like he played fancy. He just played good and consistent. Like nothing
He
Nothing-
played his game and let the discs do the work.
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. If
Yeah,
if I could do that and take third every time at a DGPT event, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean,
then you would be Paul
Heimberg
Macbeth.
being up in that.
Or Calvin. Actually, you would be Calvin Heimberg.
Yeah, I mean, Heimberg being up in that winner's kind of spot, that chance to win, was kind of nice to see him up there. I mean, I know he had a
Yep.
good finish at Las Vegas, but really seeing him at that top of that lineup is always
Yeah.
fun to watch. He's just a really
And-
good, calm disc golfer that feels like he's tough to catch strokes on, makes things look
Yep.
challenging up there.
And I would
Conrad with
even
his
say
best
that
finish of the
he-
year.
I wouldn't even say that he necessarily lost it so much as Ricky just kind of went out and took
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Conrad,
Ricky
as
playing.
you'd expect, had a good showing in the woods. Technical player, technical lines.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think.
I'll be honest. I was a little surprised to see Macbeth down in 8th. With
Yeah.
as hot as he's been all year, I thought for
Yeah.
sure that he was a shoe-in for top 5. If
It's
not-
amazing how an 8th place is his worst place. You know, his first, and second in his 3 tournaments prior. It feels like 8th's the drop off when you realize it's still a top 10 finish. Like,
yeah. What a
He
scrub.
struggled. He went from shooting a 12 down, which was right up there with the hot round. I don't remember if
it
that
was
was a hot round.
close. It was close.
Yeah, I
Like, he
mean,
shot
his scores
even
went
the next
51,
day.
63, 60.
Yeah.
So that's tough. That's real tough.
He struggled a little bit there. I don't know
Mhm.
what it was, but it was not great.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just not
Quite a
your
few times
weekend,
it looked
right?
Like. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking down the list, I mean, it was nice to see Emerson Keith kind of stay hot. I mean,
Yep.
he was a name that we had all mentioned kind of as a top player, so to kind of see him stay hot is,
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Matty O coming back.
That was nice.
Good to see him
And
getting a top
with
15 finish.
With a good finish.
Mhm.
It was fun to see. The one that I actually really enjoyed, I know we mentioned his name a couple weeks ago, was Casey White, taking 13th. Had a good finish in that tournament. I kind of saw a post on his social media that he's really looking to make a big push in the next couple weeks. So he might be a name to look out for the next couple weeks here.
Yeah,
coming into the Champions Cup. I think he said he was one stroke away from qualifying for USDGC.
Yeah, so they take
with that finish.
USDGC takes the top 4 finishers who have not qualified yet.
Yeah, so he said he was one stroke off of that. So
where was he finished? Yeah,
he finished 13th.
All of the everyone who finished top 10 from last year automatically qualifies, and then every USDGC champion automatically qualifies. So that's just about everybody who's ahead of him.
Yeah, so
just looking at who's played there,
I really think he's a name to kind of look out for in the next couple weeks. I think he's a fun disc golfer to watch. He kind of rides the hot hand, is what I've noticed from the last couple years watching him. So it'll be kind of fun to finish. Otherwise,
a couple names that stood out to me: Kevin Jones finishing tied for 23rd. Kale LaVisca tied for 25th. Kyle Klein tied for 25th. Chris Clemens tied for 25th. Nate Sexton tied for 25th.
Thomas
Brody
Gilbert, DNF.
Yes.
No word
Brody
on
finished
what?
tied for 36th, which I saw that he was questionable for the last round too with I think it was an oblique injury. So I was a little bit surprised to see him go, but he picked up 11 spots the last day, so good for him.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed with Texas states the last couple of years is because it's a state tournament, you get a lot of locals that kind of sneak their way up the leaderboards that you don't necessarily expect. So to see, some of the bigger names towards the bottom at this particular tournament isn't all that crazy, just because you have so many local that really know the course, really know the lines, kind of sneak their way in. Because I know we were Joe and I were talking a little bit when you were getting ready, RJ, about just some of our skip-based stuff. And I know I had Garrett Gerthy, who didn't have a super great finish, kind of towards the bottom. Joe had Silver Lot, who didn't have a great finish. Nathan Queen. Some of the guys that struggled throughout the weekend. But I have faith that those guys will kind of bring that back as they get more into that traveling scene kind of thing. So
this is kind of a weird one. I'll tell you, I was really surprised. Bradley Williams tied for 85th.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about
for
that.
Texas is odd. You don't expect that out of him in Texas. So I'm curious to hear kind of what ended up happening, what the rationale is behind that. But we'll see if he can make a bounce back, because he's had good finishes throughout the year. So I don't expect him to stay down there for too much longer.
Oh, no.
One other name to highlight: Scott Stokely finishing tied for 73rd. So good for him.
He seems like he's had some really good rounds and some really rough rounds out of him this year. Kind of
a little bit inconsistent.
He said he finished off the tournament with a 1023 rated round, but then the day before was over par.
Yeah,
it's tough.
He shot a 2 down, then a 4 over, then a 2 down.
So even for the tournament.
Yep. So he's been playing well, but for the sake of time here, why don't we pop over to the women's side of things?
Yeah, that works for me. I was about to ask if you guys had any more men that you wanted to
I would say nothing too much. I think this is a tournament with it. There's a lot of names you don't necessarily expect to see because they're Texas locals. But I think kind of as we work our way towards that Champions Cup, that's going to be a different different story for sure.
Yeah. So let's go through our women's top 10. Unless, Joe, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay.
All right. Women's side of things, your champion was Paige Pierce for the first time this year, at least in the major tournaments.
Paige Pierce remembered that she was Paige Pierce and she Paige pierced.
Yeah,
I think that pretty much sums up the women's tournament.
Coming in for it. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, although in second place, Kristen Tatar was making a heck of a push.
Oh, it was close. It was a fun battle to watch. But yeah, tied for second was Kristen Tatar and Katrina Allen.
Yep.
In fourth place with another really solid finish is Valerie Manuano.
Yep.
In 5th, Missy Gannon and Owen Scoggins.
Mm-hmm.
7th place was Henna Bloomrose. Tied for 8th was Maria Oliva and Kat Murch. And then tied for 10th was Kona and Jessica Weiss.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think there are probably 2 names missing from that top 10 that we would expect to see there this year. One was Haley King, who obviously couldn't make it for safety reasons.
Yep.
Glad that she's safe. And then the other one was the person that I called my safety blanket in the FPO field, and that kind of blew up on me. Evelina, finishing way down in the
27.
Oh, there she is, 27.
27.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a rough weekend.
So I wanted to pose this question to you, and I mentioned it beforehand.
I just looked at her putting stats.
So that actually ties in great with my question, because I'm not familiar with Evelina. She is someone that I have never, up until this year, I have not been a big follower.
You
of
mean
VGPT.
you're not huge into the Finnish disc golf scene? What is wrong with you?
I live in India. That's what's wrong with me. But is she someone who typically kind of has that all around game like we see from Paige, or like we'll occasionally see from, I'm trying to think of another good example of it. I won't get too deep into it, but or is she more someone who relies on her arm and her throwing skills, and then lets her putt, get hot when she wins tournaments, kind of like Katrina? That's probably a little bit of an oversimplification, but I think you guys get what I'm saying.
So, I started following disc golf a lot closer during 2020 when the disc golf season got canceled. And then all the Europeans didn't come over for 2020, and then they didn't come over last year for 2021. So I'm not as familiar, but with the tournaments that she had last year in 2021, she was 67% from C1X, 3% from Circle 2. In 2020, sorry, I'm just pulling everything up here. She was 66% C1X, 12% Circle 2 on the year. And then in 2019, she was 68% and 12%. And this year so far, she is at a solid 34% and 2%. So she is putting half, roughly, as good as she normally does in the last couple of years.
And she's not one that I followed closely, but what I did know about her prior to this was Kristen was probably the better all-around of the 3. Yes. Henna was probably the best putter of the 3, and Evelina was the best arm of the 3, is how I knew them. And that's why I've always kind of put Kristen a little bit ahead of the other 2, because to me, the all-around game is more important. Macbeth has showed that having everything all around with Macbeth and Wysocki, you look at the top of the men, the all-around games.
Even Paige.
Do better.
That's why she's so dominant.
Paige is just a freak. I don't understand how she's the longest thrower, the best putter. She's not all around. She's just the best at all the categories.
One of the things that was brought up in a different podcast that I'm not a part of, and I don't remember which one because I listened to like 24 different disc golf podcasts, is that for a long time, FPO courses were just the men's courses with different par. And Paige has a big arm. So not taking anything away from her putting and all of the other skills, but that definitely gave her a distinct advantage.
Yeah.
Just being able to outthrow everyone by 100 feet.
Yeah.
Or dial it back 100 feet and throw it accurately to 300 rather than, accurately to 250. Like I said, I'm not trying to diminish what she's done. She's a phenomenal player. Don't kick my ass at any day of the week.
She'd kick all 3 of us playing triples against her solo with our bags.
Hey, if this podcast ever turns off, I do a 3-man best disc versus Paige just to see how bad we actually are.
Yeah.
That's not.
I don't think we'll ever take off to that point, but it would be fun to try.
after 4 holes, the 3 of us just start drinking and having a good time because
Oh no,
we
it'd be on
lost.
hole 1. Have you met me? Like we'd be on hole 1.
No, I mean,
We're
to
doing a
the
beer a
point where
hole,
we're
best
worse.
disc. You know.
Yeah, I mean to the point
yeah.
where we're worse, not better, because we get better with 1 or 2 in.
Yeah, I am definitely one of those
you've
people
seen me
that
play beer pong.
you give me a 6-pack and then I'm in my zone.
Yeah,
Anything more than that 6-pack, I want to get off the course and just start drinking more. But
I didn't know that you threw a zone.
I did play 1 round with a friend when I was in grad school in Texas, where we filled up a Camelback with Captain and Coke.
Oh, I've heard this story.
And
That just sounds like a good way to ruin a Camelback.
we washed it out immediately when we got back. But
Oh, okay. So you
Um,
didn't do like my coaches and just
but we
leave a
finished
cooler
it.
full of Gatorade.
we completely finished it, and I remember having a great time. I don't think I remember my score or want to remember my score, but I remember we had a great time.
I remember
suspect you
we
stopped,
did
keeping
with one of my buddies here. We did a beer a hole, but we didn't do our math very well.
No,
Because we
that's
only bought
a lot.
Well, we only bought a 12-pack, so we realized after 6 holes we didn't make it very far. But I don't know why, and I couldn't tell you why. But I had a bottle of Captain in my disc golf bag.
I could tell you why. That's your favorite drink. You think it's
But I
water.
don't bring it by the bottle. I bring it by like the mixer
case?
tumbler.
the shooter.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, so we started taking pulls of Captain after 6 holes.
Ooh.
And every shot was a pull.
Oh,
And we didn't finish the course.
I can't
It was
imagine.
It was only a 9-hole course. We did not finish the course. We called for a ride. Like, we made mistakes. We're out here on campus. Come find us.
Was this
like,
one of the courses I've played?
No, this was actually UWGB's campus course. So we were on campus doing this, which was really
Nice.
probably very, very against the rules. But yeah, we made it through like 7. I think we played hole 8 waiting for our ride, but I'm pretty sure we both shot a 10 plus on it. And it's like a 200-foot hole. It was a rough day.
Oh man, that's
It was
awesome.
it was a blast, but I was shooting super hot up until I couldn't figure out which way was forward. We were doing really well.
Hey,
That
hey,
thing
maybe
went
we
down.
should talk
we've all
about the
thrown the
rest of
disc
this.
backwards before.
How did we get on this conversation? My goodness.
Losing the page
because
views and
we-
just start drinking.
Yes, I think we put out the challenge for any pro disc golfer that we will
Any
play a
of
triple
you,
round against
if
them.
you want to come out and face off against 3 drunk guys,
I will come back to Indiana for that shit. Or we can meet in the middle and play a course we don't know.
hey,
Oh,
I'm
we can
saying-
play
Hey.
Clash at the Canyons.
Women's
Of course.
DGC is in Madison this year.
Yeah.
We'll meet in the middle and get some practice rounds in.
Madison
Love
is
God.
like the opposite direction of you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty close to you, and it's
It's
Definitely.
3 hours from me and it's like 4 hours from you.
it's a lot
close.
further
No,
than 4
Chicago
hours.
is like 4 hours from us.
It's
Maybe Milwaukee.
You, skip,
I
you can
live
skip,
in the
you
Chicago
can skip
area.
Chicago by going to Madison, though. You can kind of skip Chicago and go
not
underneath it.
like you could take 294, but that turns into a parking lot at the wrong time of day. Trust me, you're talking to someone
Yeah.
who grew up in that area.
You can come underneath it. You can come underneath it and be okay.
What,
we
if
mole
we go to
people?
Missouri?
You just look back to the women.
The women boss.
Yeah, the like you said, Paige had a couple OB that made those final 5 holes really interesting. With
Yeah.
Kristen playing hot, Katrina wasn't making mistakes.
And then Kristen went for it on holes 18. She ended up
Yep,
with a
and skipped
double.
skipped on the road, couldn't quite get it back inbound. She went for the big play,
Yeah.
and at that point, Paige knew she had it, but so much for her laying up. She still went for that drive,
Oh, I know.
and especially on a hole where you could just as easily go out of bounds. And she played the skip off the road, but she played it perfect, and it was a fun finish. I actually was over. My dad just had his knee replacement,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh,
we
how's
went
he
over
doing?
there to go dye some discs and play with that a little bit. And so while he was sitting in the living room, he's like, I just want to ice for another 20 minutes. I'm like, cool, we're putting this on. And so we kind of watched it live. He's like, this is the women's disc golf? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
they don't look like it. Like, they're crushing it. She's like, how do the guys throw? I'm like, well, even a little further, but
They throw
like,
farther, but it's the same idea.
to me, he's like,
Yeah.
this is super entertaining. I'm glad you
Yeah.
opened this up to me. So I Yeah, Dad pretty much is now already messaging me asking when the next tournament is and how to get it on TV and all that.
You should tell him to listen to our podcast for some preview.
Silver Series.
He has no reason to want to listen to us yet, but
he hears your voice enough.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where he's like, this was way more entertaining to watch than I thought it would be. He's like, when you mentioned putting disc golf on the TV, I kind of thought it was going to be boring. He's like, the camera work sucks. Your announcers are really bad, but it's fun to watch. I'm like, yeah, that's the same complaints we've had all year.
It's better than it was. It's a good thing you didn't show him last
year's. Yeah, last year's
the
coverage.
Year before,
or the Pro Week, the All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, All-Star Weekend.
Oh, God, that All-Star Weekend was bad.
I will say, I really have... One of the things that has really helped my game, which is... This is going to be the oh-duh-ist comment ever.
Throw it forward.
But...
I've seen RJ. He has gone backwards. We've played with him on those days.
Okay, in fairness, that was into like...
No, nose
really
angle
strong
helps.
headwind.
Yeah, with a didn't know what nose up angle it was because that's all you threw was straight.
Yeah, I threw it about like this.
Yeah, you threw it. It released up, not forward, into the wind. Flippy disc. All of a sudden we look and I mean it flew far. The total flight was probably 300 because it went about 150 up, and then back, and then over, and then down.
And then it landed 20 feet behind us. 40 feet to the right?
Oh, 40 feet. It was like 100 feet to the right. That thing was off
right.
on hole 10. Yeah, we were on 11 and he ended up back on holes 10 T.
It was a great drive on 10.
Okay, that's a little bit of hyperbole.
Not
by
much.
much. Yeah.
Also, we're sitting there. The funny thing was that you weren't the last to drive, and I just remember, well, RJ's still out. Does he take a second shot before we all tee? Or
yeah, how does that work?
Because Kayla was laughing way too damn hard to tee off at that point.
I think we all
RJ just puts his bag on, starts walking to his disc because we're all just sitting on the tee laughing. No words, just starts walking away, half crying, half laughing.
Sober.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know about me. I'm not sure if I was, but...
Mostly sober.
Oh,
we were mostly sober.
But,
so your
how did we get
realization...
into this?
Your realization watching coverage.
Yes. Is really starting to understand more and more how to throw different styles of shots. Because when I used to read the sanctioning descriptions, and one of the things was this type of player is learning how to throw different shots. I'm sitting there going, so what? They have a forehand and a backhand? Like, what does that mean? But now, after watching more and more, starting to understand, okay, there are different types of shots for, getting a ground skip, for getting that sky hyzer, for throwing, that type of stuff.
A thumber.
It's not just backhand goes left.
Right.
There's a lot more to it than it goes left. Why are you throwing an overstable disc compared to a stable disc that are both going to finish up? Well, one, I want the skip. Why are you throwing this plastic? Well, this plastic's going to dig in a little bit more.
Exactly.
And it starts to click.
Yeah, exactly. So really understanding that and understanding, okay, I'm throwing into a headwind. I need to throw something more stable. It sounds really dumb to somebody that's played a while, but really understanding how to throw your bag and how to, kind of the different theories on how to attack holes has made me, at least, in from the mental side, a better disc golfer. Now, converting it to the physical side is a whole nother issue.
Yeah, and that's where your field work comes in. The more you can just throw that same shot over and over and over, throw the same shot with a different disc and see how it reacts differently. That's the part of the game that takes time. Like we were saying before with Paige, she does it all so well. Just take it for granted. You just assume she's going to be in the fight for first place every match because she doesn't just have power. She doesn't just have putting. She has that approach game. Whether she flexes, hyzer flips, sky hyzer, just all of it. Yeah. It's just fun to watch these top pros go at it. And I've been, I know we've mentioned it, it feels like every week and just a broken record, but I love the competition on the women's side right now. Yeah. It is so fun to watch because it is a battle every week. And I don't know if it's good or bad that it's the battle between the same 5 people, but I don't care because it's a battle every week.
I think this year it's okay because it's new. It's always been Paige and Katrina, and then sometimes Missy.
Yeah. But
And
I mean, now
then
Valerie's up in the
even then-
conversation.
Yeah, Valerie's
And
in
then
the conversation.
sometimes,
You can never
you know.
count out Owen.
Yep.
Yeah. Cat's up in the Cat
Cat-
Birch has been up in the conversation.
Maria
Oliva.
Oliva.
Where did she
Yeah.
come from this year? She
I
is
don't
playing
know.
fantastic. And wow, can she bomb a disc
Well-
and almost keep up with Paige, it looks like, on some of those games.
How many times have we talked about Holland Handley this year?
Yeah,
She's
she's
someone
up there.
who
Who
First on the
finished
scene.
13th, tied for 13th this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Kona Panis
or-
now putting the throws together that we thought she could do all year. And,
Mhm.
you know, her finishes are getting better and better. I know I mentioned to you guys, you know, kind of on Sunday, she put out a post saying, wow, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with my discs. And then she comes
It
out
looked like
shooting up until the triple bogey, shoots a hot round. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, she was bogey free, like 9 under through 12. It's like, holy
Mhm.
cow.
Well,
Yeah.
here's
You know.
what I'm going to be curious with. Champions Cup is at W.R. Jackson at the International Disc Golf Center, the PDGA headquarters, and it is brutal in the woods, tight, technical.
Mm-hmm.
How are some of these?
Well, we lose our Europeans for that one too, don't we? This
A
was a lot of the
lot of 'em-
Europeans last.
This is a major, so a lot of them are going to leave right after.
Okay, after champions.
Yeah, then they're going to
Okay.
play their European tour.
Okay, yeah, I
then
suppose
come back
there's
after
Kristen,
European Open.
Hannah,
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
Evelina's registered.
Oh,
so I guess, and what about
Katie
Tati?
Tati.
Is she registered?
She was
for-
playing really well.
She's
another-
also registered
Another one
for
that
champions.
finished tied for 13th.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess all those Europeans are staying for champions.
Yeah.
And
So
I
Well-
want to see some of these women in the
Mhm.
tight technical woods to see what happens. Because
it'll be
Paige has
interesting
been hit or miss with the woods.
Mm-hmm.
She can
to
blow
open
up pretty
though. We
easy.
know she can do it though, because we've
Yes.
seen her win
Oh,
tournaments
oh,
by
no, no,
16 in the woods.
I know that, but
Yeah.
it almost feels like if she gets one or two bad holes in a row, and
Mhm.
maybe not even like bogey, but just par.
I mean, let's be fair
She's
with
had her
Paige. Even this
blow-ups.
last weekend at the final round, if she stays OB or if she stays away from the out of bounds,
Yep.
she wins this tournament by 6-7 strokes.
She had 2 OB strokes in just the final round.
Yeah. And those OBs came back to bite her hard. I mean, she
She had
stays in
6 OB strokes
bounds.
total.
Yeah, she stays in bounds. It's a much different, you
Yep.
know, kind of walk away with it kind of victory. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
she
it's been
wins by
fun.
4 strokes total. You said that she
Yeah.
had 6 strokes, so I mean, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
Let's see.
She
let
could
me
have
let me
theoretically won
organize
by
this
10.
by let's see where we're sitting at the overall rankings, just because it's kind of been up here. Is we got Katrina Allen at 1, which makes sense.
Yep.
First place
Yep.
finish, third place finish, first place finish, second place finish. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
She's
Kristen
crushing
Tatar
it.
without the win is sitting at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Paige Pierce at number 3. Now she didn't play
Open at Belton.
the Open at Belton, but those were far less points, so she
Yes.
could be kind of pushing that 2 spot should she have a finish there.
Yep.
But
Yep.
she's also not playing the next 2 weeks at the next 2 silvers, so she must
Yep.
be coming with all her silvers at the end of the year if she plays them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, neither is
Um,
Katrina or Kristen Tatar. They're not registered either. So
Yeah, so
for
she's
the
not going
people
to lose
ahead
any
of her,
spots.
that's not going to
Yeah.
change anything.
Yeah.
Looking at number 4, we have Valerie Manahuando, who's first place finish, second place finish, I think, at the one that wasn't at
Mm-hmm.
Belton.
Preserve,
Or
right? Second place finish at Belton, fourth place finish at Texas, and she
Yep.
is the top rated, well, not top rated, but the top girl going into the next 2 silvers. So I would not be surprised to see her maybe climb that list a little bit.
Mhm.
In 5th place, might be one of the bigger surprises this year is Cat Merch, just
Yeah.
again with another
Mhm.
top finish.
Yep,
6th,
it's not-
Owen Scoggins.
Yeah.
7, Missy Gannon. Like we mentioned before, another kind of big surprise, Maria Oliva, Holland
Mhm.
Hanley. And then we get into Evelina and Henna, Jessica Weiss,
Mhm.
Rebecca Cox. Like,
It's getting fun.
these are names that we've been seeing on the top card all the time. They're not getting huge swings. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, Evelina had a bad finish. Rebecca Cox had a bad finish this weekend. But, you know,
That's bound to
overall,
happen.
it's been
Yeah.
fun to watch the ladies. Like, the top 4 cards are always stacked.
Yeah.
And it's just leading to some
It
really,
is
really
so
fun disc
to
golf.
watch. Yeah.
The guys, you get a lot more. You get some of the locals that come in with some big arms, but the girls are just consistently putting out some really quality, fun stuff to watch. And I've really, really been enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you've got on the men's side, you've got Ricky in first, just over Calvin by 11 points. Chris Dickerson is third. Paul Macbeth is fourth. What hurt him
And that's
was
without
not
that.
playing Las Vegas.
Yeah, so that'll he'll continue to climb.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
And
realistically, if you get rid of everybody's lowest finish, he's tied with Ricky at 1, it looks like. If you get rid of Ricky's 12th,
yeah.
I mean, you have a 7th place tie and an 8th place tie. That's a 2-point separation out of hundreds of points.
Yeah.
Like, they're right
Gannon
with each
Burr's
other.
sitting fifth, which is really good.
Yeah.
Luke Humphreys, these last 2 tournaments haven't been that good to him. I don't know what's going on. If Las Vegas and Waco were just a flash in the pan, or
that's the question. Which ones are the flukes? The 2 bad finishes or the 2 good finishes? And I shouldn't even say 25th is a bad finish at Bell.
No, but
no.
45th is not great.
But compared to 2nd and 4th, 25th doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Nico Lacastros in 7th, Joel Freeman in 8th, James Conrad 9th,
and
Kevin
Freeman's
Jones
in the
10th.
same boat as Macbeth, where his big knock on his rating is he doesn't have Vegas in there.
Yep.
Because he's had, in his 2 majors, 3rd and 4th. Like,
Yeah.
Freeman's shooting really well, too.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drew Gibson, only having the 1 win,
Yeah, I know.
is still in 13th with only 1 win. So he comes back for Champions Cup. So, yeah, the men's side is, going to be interesting. Yeah, it's been a fun year to watch. It's still super power up on top, but the women just, it feels like every week you want to watch that live coverage because they're just bouncing from card to card.
I know. I was actually kind of upset that I wasn't able to watch it.
And beyond that, it feels like we have 3, 4, 5 different ladies who are kind of making a breakout this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels like Macy Vela Diaz, Holland Handley, Valerie Mondojano.
I mean, even Alexis Manohando's had some good finishes too.
Yeah.
And if Kona starts putting it together, that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Watching Haley King get some more competition against these, really good players. I
mean, we saw Natalie
feels
Ryan
like it's a
in
mix
Vegas.
of.
We saw what she can do, and if she gets back to healthy, she could make that push towards the top, because she was playing some solid disc golf that first day, that she looked well-rounded, and it wasn't just a one-day thing.
Yeah.
To see her get back to healthy, potentially doing some of that.
Yeah.
Disc golf this year is a lot of fun to watch, and there may be day to day where it's like, I don't feel like watching the live, but I can promise you, as soon as I don't watch the live, I'm logging onto YouTube the next morning going, okay, Joe Mez, have you put your stuff up yet? I changed my mind. I want to watch yesterday really bad.
Joe Mez, do your thing.
So do you think after this tournament, everybody at Dynamic Disc just went, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Between Ricky winning and then Kona getting 10th?
Yeah. And
Valerie.
Valerie
I only
way
pull
up there
those two
too.
out just because of the money they paid them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not that Ricky was doing bad. He was taking what I think is an appropriate trajectory when you're changing bags. Like, the first tournament wasn't great by his standards. It was still a decent tournament.
It was still a really good tournament.
Yeah. It just, by his standards, not great. And he
and it
slowly
really
inched up,
is.
and now he just won up.
And it really is learning a new bag. Yes, some of the discs were there. He knew about the dagger. He knew about the felon. But there's a lot of new plastic in his bag that wasn't in production when he played.
Yeah.
So he really is truly learning a new bag. And then retooling some of the discs.
Yeah.
It's
finding
been a
that
fun
run
year.
of felons that you like
Yeah.
versus the felons that are out now. I mean,
And I'm sure he had
his
a handful
Orbit
of
felon
still in the
is-
garage kind of thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
His Orbit felon though is amazing.
yeah, the one that
That thing
did not
flies
take
so
that
good.
trajectory though is Katrina Allen. She is just hitting it at home with discs that she loves. And watching, especially with like that Vortex, brand new disc this year,
Chris
she was
Dickerson.
working on it. She is throwing
Dickerson
the crap
has also
out of that
done
thing.
really well.
Yeah,
On the bag switch.
We've just had so many people who switched who just, for whatever reason, didn't miss a beat. And then Ricky took a couple tournaments, which
is
whatever.
exactly what we expected from him.
yeah.
But that's why they signed him to 4 years and not 6 months, you know?
Yeah. So really quickly,
Yes.
since we're talking about the pros and their bags, do we want to finish up our bags?
Let's see where we at. Okay, we will. We'll talk slowly.
Yes. So Ben, while he's gone, do we want to decide? Do we want to work distance drivers down or fairways and up? I'm okay with either. It's just that
Great question. I'm looking at what my daughter did to my discs, and I had them in a nice order, and they are not in a nice order.
I'm okay either way. It's just that I live right on the, you can see my stack of 9-speed discs. That makes up the majority of my, which is unfortunate because it's right in the middle of my.
Well, I'm going to start with one that's a little odd. I'm going to start with a utility disc for me. And
is it a felon? Because we all have a felon.
No, this is an out-of-production disc called the Vision. I'm going to try and show the stamp.
Is that a trilogy?
This stamp.
Oh.
It is.
Who made that?
It is. I believe, I'm not positive, it's out of production now, but Latitude 64 used to make this one. And it is.
I mean, it's obviously not a DD because it's not.
Yeah, it's
Justice
it
System
is
themed.
understable, and it is my roller disc.
Okay.
And I have a decent arm. I don't have a big arm, but I have enough that I can compete with at least, your kind of your AM1, AM2 kind of guys.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Finish up.
So for me, this is one where I don't have to force it on a super heavy angle. I can throw this one flat to slight anhyzer on 60-70% power, and it goes on a nice roller angle. I am not one that's going to lean on a roller very often. There's only a handful of courses where I actually know, and I'm not throwing my roller necessarily for distance as much as I am extremely low ceiling shots.
Okay, so that was actually going to be my
mostly.
question. Was when do you use a roller? Because this is another shot that
For me, I don't have trust in the roller.
I don't have the.
Yeah, I'm not using my roller for max distance. I'm not the Eagle McMahon. Okay, I got an 800-foot hole. I'm going to try and roll it up to it. I'm using my roller for one, get out of trouble.
Okay.
Because I don't have the flight pattern I like, so at least I can roll it out of this shit and see what I get on rolling. But then two, like I said, low ceiling shots where I do trust this disc enough that if I put it down on the right angle, I can still get good distance where I wasn't sure, especially on a windy day with that ceiling kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for me, the Vision is there because it is almost so understable. That's almost all I can throw with it. I have not tried to throw that disc in the air because it just turns and burns.
So it's a patrol, effectively.
It's a wide rim patrol.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to that kind of disc.
So, Joe, quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to work up or work down?
I don't care. I'm just organizing everything. I couldn't bring my bag in because my cart is absolutely caked in mud, and I choose life.
Yeah, that's fair.
That was my one utility. Joe, do you have any utility that we want to talk about first?
Yes, I actually have.
I suppose you have at least one stupid in one direction, and then maybe one stupid in the other direction.
I have a utility or a disc that I consider a utility disc, but I know that we're going to get to it with our discussion later. So sorry, I'll hold off on mine.
I'm organizing a little bit here because some of these I pulled out my extras and all that. So in the crazy understable, relatively speaking, direction, I have the Dynamic Disc Vandal, which is the Trilogy Challenge from 2019. This is my roller / tailwind hyzer flip / calm. I can get it to hyzer flip, or if I need it to finish, if I need a disc to finish right, but a forehand will get me too far to the right, if that makes sense. And then going in the... Yes, sir.
Oh, I was going to say really quickly, I also have a Vandal. I use it. This is the disc that has helped me learn how to hyzer flip.
It's a great disc.
Yes, but then I also have the slower Vandal, the Maverick.
Yep.
So basically the same disc. It's just one's a 7 and one's a 9. Don't know if I'm going to end up keeping both, but we'll see. I live in the 9-speed range, so we'll see.
Going in the exact opposite direction, I have the single most expensive disc in my bag, the Discmania Simon Lizotte Tilt, Meta Tilt, and it is so pretty. It's pink. This is I needed to finish vertical after throwing it vertical in the opposite direction. I've thrown this. There's one hole I actually started throwing this on because it is a 400-foot hole, 17 at Tillman. 400-ish feet, depending on which pin position it's in. And you need to go about 150 feet and turn left hard. You go deep, you're in the honeysuckle, you're in the woods.
Turn. There's not a lot of room to make that turn.
Yeah.
You go deep, you're in the honeysuckle, and you're pitching out. Like sometimes you can get a window, and it just doesn't go well. So I just take my tilt, and I let it go flat, throwing it on a full power drive, and it goes 150 feet, and it turns left. And sometimes it skips. This last time that I threw it, it didn't skip because where it skips, there's a massive puddle. So it skipped out of the puddle, just didn't go very far.
Yeah.
But
I think I threw that once, and I'm like, this feels like a disc that I just need to like take and just try and hyzer bomb, because that feels like the appropriate thing to do with it.
Yeah. You don't need to have a grenade grip. It only grenades. Yeah.
Yes.
I've thrown that before. If you throw it up high enough, it will land 100% vertical.
Yeah. Which there's times where that's what you want to do. I want to throw it hard. I need to throw it hard for the sake of the ceiling, for the sake of the wind, but I don't want it to move. So this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's times for that. But RJ, like you said before, why don't we go fairways? Let's kind of do what we did before.
Yep.
Let's start with slow and on the more understable side and then work our way up.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I already used my 1 7-speed disc. I have one other that I think we'll get to with Ben, so I won't steal his thunder. Like I said, I've used the 7-speed Maverick as a little bit more of an understable.
We can actually talk Maverick because that's in my boat too. Is I throw the Maverick for my essentially when in my mid-range game, I kind of mentioned I starting to like the bounty, but kind of not there. But I want to power up, and I don't want that bounty to turn too much, or I need that little bit faster flight. The Maverick is what I love about it is I can power this one up to full speed, but it's not gonna turn and burn on me.
Yeah. It does not like turn and burn.
It's gonna move right. It took me a while. It was finicky for me to start. With my arm speed, it was almost too stable. And I'm like, do I like this? Do I not like this? Then you smash a few trees, and it is beaten to the point where it's going to move right. It's going to finish flat to left for me, but I never have to worry about, even in the wind, losing it to the ground. It'll just float further to the right. Yeah. So that's where I have been loving that Maverick personally.
Really quickly, can you describe your Maverick? Just like the picture of the disc? Paint a visual picture.
Paint you a visual picture. I just kind of accidentally threw it on the other side of my room, but it is a special edition plastic. And it is kind of a pink to a light pink kind of burst. Yeah. Very similar to my Explorer, but very similar in the special edition plastic. The special edition plastic, it's fusion-ish, maybe slightly gummier. That's the way of saying it. At least that's kind of what I've noticed. My true kind of fusions, it just feels ever so slightly gummier. I love it. Nice. Especially with a guy that putts with like the blend plastics. I wish I could find more discs in this special edition. I gotta learn what that hybrid plastic is and figure out discs that I can throw in that hybrid plastic. Because for me, I love it because I feel like I can get a good grip, and it almost, not puddle tops, but I can feel like I can really get a good solid grip on it, and it's not going to ever slide out of my hand. I have more control. And I know some people don't like it because of that, but for me, I love it.
Yeah.
So
and my Maverick is just the standard pink Lucid Maverick. It has the silvery.
What are
stamp.
you throwing the Maverick for? Is that kind of your long straight shot?
Yeah, it's a little bit long straight. It kind of slots in between my escape and my EMAC truth, or in my truth.
Okay.
It's something where I can power it up, but it's not going to just glide past the hole. So my distance drivers are usually in the neighborhood of 250 to 300.
Okay.
So with like the 7-speed Maverick, I'm looking at something that's closer to 200, 225. I'm not going to put a full send on it.
But for you,
But
it's
I want
staying
something
straight
that,
with a left finish.
I want something that's fairly straight. Might have, if I'm throwing it, I like throwing it forehand. I'm more of a forehand player than a backhand player. If I'm throwing it forehand, it's going to get a little bit left, but then finish right. The exact opposite with my backhand. Although I've noticed when I actually use proper form that my Maverick and my Vandal are both wanting to take off a little bit more right than I want. That's just something that I have to work on my field work with, but that's a player issue rather than a disc issue.
In time, you're going to learn to love that shot because I didn't think I liked the understable, and lately, oh my god, give me some understable and let me. Yep, give me those hyzer flips all day.
Yep.
I'm
and that's
to like it.
like I said
I'm learning
with my
to like
Vandal.
it.
With my Vandal, I've started to learn how to hyzer flip. I used it on. There was some. Oh, it was number 10, I think, at PFW, where I'm just like, I have no idea what to throw because I don't throw anything straight enough. And if you go too far right, you go out of bounds. If you go too far left, you are in the deep crap and you are hoping to take a par with a really good upshot.
Yeah. So, Joe, what are you throwing in your understable fairway? Or is that a thing in your bag?
Well, if it's not the Vandal, it's the Escape.
Okay.
No,
my 9-speed Escape.
That's not a fairway. That's a driver.
It's a fairway.
9 is the last one. 10 is where you can go either way.
Yes.
For the people that throw the 12 speeds, the 9 is your fairway.
Yes.
Hey, I have a 12 speed in my bag. I have a 12, an 11, and a 10.
Nice.
My 11 is probably closer to about a 7, but
I've got a backup amateur match play championship. I don't know. It was at the local store for cheap. And then the one I actually throw all the time is this one that is in far worse condition, but it is my...
But that one's your understable slot.
I could put it on hyzer flip. I think I found where it hit the cage. I might be rotating in a new Escape. It's not bad, but
my Escape has a lot of dings in it.
I didn't throw it after that one because the holes just didn't call for it.
Yeah.
So that one hole was 315 feet. Then the next one was like 350.
Yeah,
and then after
but
that,
a
it was
true
600
hyzer,
and 600.
350 true hyzer.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
All right.
So how about neutral fairway?
Ben,
I know RJ, you mentioned Maverick on that, but what's your next? You have another true neutral?
I was gonna say, piggybacking off of Joe, I could either talk about my favorite discs or I can talk about my other 7-speed that I bag.
Let's talk about your other 7-speed.
Because you bag this one like I bag my Escapes. So I use a Ricky Wysocki Explorer. Nice pretty blue with the kind of bluish stamp. It's got the Ricky Wysocki 2X Saki Bomb stamp. I picked this one up at our local store here. I use it. I guess it's technically neutral, but with it being a Saki Bomb, it's a little bit more stable. For me, it's nice little throw it out there. I can put it on Annie, it'll flex a little bit, and then it'll still finish hard left. For me, it's a more stable kind of fairway style driver. And then like I said, I use it as kind of my stable to neutral one.
Yeah. So for me, great segue. For me, I use the Explorer for my straight to maybe a left finish at the end, depending on the disc. So my first one that I've had the longest is the special edition. Just beautiful candy cane kind of pattern on there.
Yeah, that's pretty.
This one has been gone out of bounds and gotten run over once or twice, which I was super not happy about at the time. Ouch. But it has given it just that enough of beat-in that it flies straight. It doesn't go right. Secret? It doesn't go right, doesn't go left. It just goes straight. Even in the wind, there's enough stability left in the disc that it doesn't really die out one way or the other. So it's really, really nice.
BRB, I'm going to go run over my Explorer with my car.
Yeah, just make sure you swear at it a few times because I was super pissed off at that driver that day. That was it was a tournament at Shof where we ended up on the other side of the road playing some alternate holes on the other side of the road.
Remember that.
Was that Hoosier Hosier?
Was it the Hosier? It was.
Hosier's the only one that really sets that up.
Was the Hosier the double?
Hosier and the Macedon Open the one year because...
Nope, it was the Three Rivers Open, but we couldn't play it at Tillman that year. We couldn't play it at Shof that year, and we ended up playing it there. So I ended up playing... Was that the year I played doubles? Not with you, though. I played with someone else. Maybe that was... I don't know if I can remember if it was doubles or I just ended up on the same card as a guy. But we played very, very well. My next one that I'm throwing is a pretty disc, and I don't think the camera's going to do the chameleon plastic justice here. But this is a 2020 glass blown open that never ended up happening. Chameleon plastic disc, and it is pretty. This one, Explorer.
Okay.
Yeah. My next handful are all Explorers, but that one for me is I can power up. That one's going to stay straight, but that one's going to have a touch more of that left finish at the end. So if it's one where I need it to stay straight, but I can't risk any movement to the right, that's the one I'm throwing. If I want a little bit harder of a left finish, that is where the Timu Nissan Team Series Explorer is going to come out. This one is a orange and yellow kind of burst pattern to it.
Perfect. Why are all your Explorers so pretty?
I know, because that's where I put all my time and money into. mainly the money into. But that one is actually fairly stable. So that's one that I'm going to put on a little bit of hyzer and get a nice, good, solid C curve kind of out of it the entire way. Where I just want it to float. We'll talk about our overstable slot next where it dies. That one I'm going to get a good float off to the left. And then my last one, can't remember, Joe got this one for me, is the Moonshine Explorer. Ooh. And that one is a very similar shot to the last one, but this one I'm throwing in the wind. I'm not taking this one out on a tailwind day, on a no-wind day, because I'm not getting enough of a different fight. But that one, the Moonshine Plastic, I have a very similar flight, but it holds up better in the wind for whatever reason. It's not necessarily more stable, but it holds up better in the wind. So I really like that one. I can get those. And distance-wise, I'm throwing those maybe 320-ish for the most part. But like you said, with that 7-speed, I'm not going too far past baskets. Yeah. So especially in the Green Bay area here, where those are some of my longer holes, I'm throwing a lot of EMAC Truth and Explorer, because they're very similar discs that I can throw on different angles and get slightly different shots. But,
so you talked about your kind of sweet spot disc, and Joe mentioned mine earlier. Come back in a sec. So I'll kind of quickly talk about the one that I bagged 2.5 molds of, the Escape.
It's a good disc.
One of the 2 discs that I have a reward on. It says 1 beer if found. This one's my baby, so realistically, if I lose this one, it's probably closer to a 6-pack or a case if found.
Your Air Escape?
Yes, my 154 gram red Lucid Air Escape. It is the non-putter that I purchased that has been in my bag the longest. We'll talk about one other bag that I think I've had longer that's older. This thing is beat to hell. This is my go-to disc. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm going to be really sad when it ends up in the bottom of a pond.
Yep.
Which is why I generally don't throw it over water. But
Makes
but
sense.
yes, my Lucid Air Escape is kind of my baby. I've recently started throwing the Latitude 64 Jade, which is this nice blue with the blue elephant stamp. Similar flight pattern, a little bit more stable for me. My Lucid Air Escape will sometimes turn and burn if I get it on too much Annie.
Yep.
The Jade can also do that, but not as likely. And if I throw it flat, it's going to finish more with a little bit more, left to right on a forehand, left or right to left on a backhand. And then my other one that I'll throw is my regular old Lucid Escape, which sits right in between the two. It doesn't have the right movement that the Jade or my Lucid Air Escape will have.
Mm-hmm.
But my kind of pinkish reddish with silver stamp, Lucid Escape is something where I'll throw it on holes where I know I don't want it to go too far. The one that I classically throw it on is at my home course. There's one where, the woods are hard right and there's a river hard left. And you have maybe a 20-foot fairway. And I'll throw this one basically, flat. It'll move ever so slightly to the left and then give me a finish away from the river on a forehand. I don't quite throw it far enough. I don't quite get the distance as my Lucid Air. But yeah, those are my three. I call them my 2.5 escapes. Kind of my babies, my sweet spot disc. I use them for a lot of my distance driving. I've started to go with a couple discs that I'll talk about later for longer drives now that I understand how to throw them better. But these are kind of the ones that I cannot recommend the Escape enough. It is my baby. So it would be my Signature Series disc if I was good enough to have a Signature Series disc.
My neutral to stable is a first run evader, and it is so much fun to throw. If I can't let it go flat because it will hyzer, but if you let it go on that hyzer release, it'll hold that and just keep going. I could turn it over a little bit on a flex line, and it'll just turn a little bit and it'll still fight out of it. It's a great disc. Even though it's a 7-speed, it is more stable than my Escape. So there's that. And then I have a Lucid X Zach Melton stamp that is pretty stable. Lucid X is pretty stable.
Yeah.
And it is...
Is that an Evader still?
Yes, it's an Evader.
Okay.
I actually have two. Because I knew I liked the Evader a lot, and then Lucid X, when they make a run of Lucid X, they don't make them very often. I found the X version of them. So I was like, well, I better buy two in case I lose one. So I bag 3 Evaders technically, but like the Lucid X1, I'll only take out on my forehand, and not even all that often, or I'll take it on my backhand into a headwind if I'm looking for that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I guess you could almost say that the 2 Lucid X's are my backups to the regular Evader.
Yeah.
Which I don't throw them all that often, but when I do, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen you throw them a couple times, but...
So I feel like that brings us then into the overstable fairway, which I know Joe and I are going to have some overlap. So RJ, why don't you talk about your overstable fairway?
I only have one overstable fairway driver.
Same.
Is it how many different variations of that one do you have?
Different variations? 4.
I only have 2.
Okay, well I only have one. This is my driving felon. Joe can show us his putting felon.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a nice blue on blue felon. I picked it up. I thought about picking this one up in the Lucid Air plastic, but then I'm like, No, I want something that's stable in the wind. I don't want something that gets blown all over the place in the wind, as the lucid air plastic will do. So that is not what I want a felon for. This is my utility disc. I actually used this on my most recent round because I took a terrible, almost turn and burn on my Vandal, got really deep in the woods, and I threw this one out, and I still ended up bogeying the hole, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But yes, this is, the felon is my kind of utility, fairway, distance, whatever. But for you guys, I know it's a little bit more than that. So
yeah, let's say great minds think alike, because
Yeah.
I'm going to keep the felon train running here. We'll let Joe finish since his do more, but I have two. The one I have most recently is the Orbit plastic socket bound. I used to throw criminals. When I say used to, I mean all the way up until fall of last year was throwing criminals.
Yep.
But what I was noticing is they were just, I wasn't getting the flight I really wanted. I wanted more of a push left than what I was getting. Now, those are overstable discs, but kind of like the tilt, they were almost landing too vertical.
Unless you got a biofusion one like I had and beat the crap out of it.
I have a biofusion, but I hadn't beaten it up as much. But I love it to the point where the felon is overstable.
Mm-hmm.
Very overstable, but it wants to stay in the air going left. So you can actually get a good amount of distance out of these when you power them up. So what I like is, I kind of talked about my Explorer, where it's only going to go so far. It's a 7-speed. It has good glide, but especially my other ones, I'm only going to get so much. These felons, I can really put a good rip on. They're going to go left, and especially this felon, the Orbit one has a pretty good dome on it, so it likes to stay in the air and likes to float. Contrary to that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the right angle. But there is...
Well, it's a little high right now.
There is
almost
no dome on this one.
Yeah.
This is the Ricky 2-time Fusion X Blend plastic. That was a one-time run. And I bought it because he won, and that's when I was first getting into disc golf, and it was kind of fun to watch. This thing is a meat hook. This is my fast justice. This one is not flying very far, because this one's going to go. So this is my almost utility, kind of where this type of slots where Joe's going to use that tilt. That's where I'm kind of using this, where I want nothing but a hyzer bomb and stuff like that. So it doesn't come out of the box or out of the bag often, but if I want a big flare skip, if I want kind of that up and over, straight up and down kind of shot, that's where that one comes out. But those are my felons. So Joe's got more of a story on his.
I don't like the way you were slandering the felon, saying it's
I'm not slandering
utility disc.
That particular
I'll say it's
one
a
is
utility disc.
That particular one is a utility.
Yes. This is my Saloa, because the stamp is pretty much half worn off. The F looks like a C, and the N is missing the up, so it looks like an A at the end. This is my baby. This is my hyzer flip felon. Yes, I can hyzer flip beforehand with this felon. It's
when
great.
It's beat up that much, yes.
If I want it to go straight, I can make it go straight. If I want to make it go left on a forehand, I can make it go left on the forehand and still finish left of the tee. Because I have to be real careful with this one. This is flippy. This is my flippy felon.
I need something stronger than Michelob Ultra.
I'm going in order of my stabilities here. So my next one up is my Ricky Felon 2-time Orbit.
I love that blue, though. I thought my red was good. That blue is pretty. Oh, that's the black.
They're both
black. Black and a blue, or just black?
I got black and red. The red one he signed. The black one he didn't.
Okay.
I was a little upset, only because I was terrified to lose the black one, but there's enough white on it. It doesn't.
Yeah, there's enough white, but it's pretty. Yeah. It almost looks blue on the camera. That's why I asked.
It's got a red stamp, and it's so beautiful. This is my distance felon. This is the one where I have gone out to the football field after work, and I've thrown it from goalpost to goalpost and felt like I could actually throw it further. So that's about 360.
Those ones have a nice dome to them.
It has a nice dome, and I throw it on a flex line, and it can just go. And it just wants to stay up in the air. It's really weird for having a I think it's a 3 glide. It wants to stay in the air a lot longer than that.
Yeah,
Mine's a little too
especially
flat for that.
especially that run.
Yes. Moving up in stability is my felon that is actually signed by Kona Panis. It is a misprint. I ordered it the same time as the Kona signing was going on, and so she signed all of the Kona discs and my misprint felon, even though I didn't ask her to. But I appreciate it.
Well, that's because Kona's the bomb.
This is my more stable felon. This one is the one that will hyzer out. It's not quite as like what you're talking about, the Ricky 2-time fusion, but it's surprisingly stable for being lucid. But it's the new lucid that's a little bit clearer than the other stuff, and it's a great disc. And then my very overstable felons that I bought 2 of, one was a backup because I was throwing it more, is the Eric Oakley Lucid X Chameleon felon. So you want to throw all the overstable things in together. You're just missing Moonshine. And these are just stupid overstable. I love them. They fit a roll of a headwind that I still need my forehand to finish to the right. And with the way the new Lucid is, or at least that run of Lucid that I have for the other one, they're shockingly close. But this is still by far the most stable and very pretty.
Yeah.
Most importantly, very pretty. And it's the Eric Oakley right before he left. It's his team series.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the big push
Was that his
season.
putting felon, or
I think that was his driving felon.
Even for him, I think that was the overstable felon.
Yes. it is very overstable.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think that brings us to our distance drivers. How many do you guys have left?
I have 3 categories here. I have my essentially understable, max distance, and then my go-to.
So I have my neutral, I have my max distance, and I have my I'm scared of this shot driver.
I found a utility disc.
All right, start there, Joe.
It's the flip.
How do you have a utility disc?
Oh God, yeah.
This was the tilt before the tilt was the tilt.
And now it's not the tilt anymore.
And now
it almost looks understable.
It actually I'm probably gonna take it out of my bag. So
that one's no longer in the bag, folks.
It's not in the bag anymore. The more I thought about it, it flies like 25, 30 feet further
There's no
than
glide
the tilt.
to it.
And if I'm going to be throwing something that needs to go a little further, I'll throw like the adder or my stiletto.
Yeah. So, so let's go into one of the more understable side of your discs for the distance drivers. I may be the only one that has an understable distance.
I got a couple.
Mine is one that
escape.
I never knew I needed this shot, but my forehand was so god awful, and there was a handful of holes that I needed to go right and I needed them to go long. Now my forehand has developed to be just bad as compared to god awful bad. Yeah. But this one I got in a mystery box. I ordered 10 misprint discs, and the sorcerer, reading the numbers, is 13602. You would not expect this to be understable. But for me, I can put this one up, hyzer flip up to flat, and then it rides right, and it just holds right. And it does have just enough of that stability to finish out at the end. It's weird. It is high speed understable, low speed stable. If that makes sense. It rides understable until it slows down, and then hooks up enough to kind of bring it back to flat. So I don't have to worry about this one turning and burning unless if I start flat and I crank it hard, it will turn into a roller. So if I want to learn how to throw that sky roller, this will probably be that disc for me. But right now, it's one that I didn't necessarily know I needed. But it turns out there's certain holes where I have to hit a gap long and to the right that I know for me to trust a forehand, I need to throw a fairly stable disc that's going to dump. That one lets me ride to the right and keep it pushing as it goes right. Yeah. It does not come out of the bag often, but when it does, it's the perfect disc.
So,
Okay.
do you want my understable disc or the one that should be understable?
Go with the understable. What the understable slot for you?
The understable
Yes.
slot is my trespass. And by the numbers, no. Looking at it, yes, because this thing has been in my bag forever.
Yeah,
It
there's no
is-
stamp left on that.
There is almost no stamp left on it. The numbers, I have to look at it in the light the right way. It is a 12.5 minus a half 3. What should have been my understable disc that I bought as a replacement, but is far more stable than you would anticipate, is the Captain. Because I don't know
Capitan.
if I can get the angle right.
Oh,
That
there's a
thing is
dome there.
Well, that's
flat.
got a dome.
Oh, it looks like a dome from here.
It is.
Oh, maybe not.
No,
It
no,
starts
maybe
to
not.
dome and then it
Yeah.
cuts off.
It
Yeah.
It domes.
plateau.
And then it puddles. This
It's a
thing
plateau.
is stupid stable until you get it to the right speed, and then it goes over. So
Okay, so touchy for you.
it is insanely touchy. It's one of those discs that I think I might have to get a new Captain just because I bought it from DD, so
Mhm.
I didn't get to see what I was actually getting.
Mm-hmm.
And so shout out to Reaper Discs because you get to see all the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Late ad.
Yeah.
So because I think it kind of domes and then puddles, it makes it stupid touchy. Like I
Okay.
have to be careful in the wind, and it's just
Yeah.
I bought it because my old Captain was just that. It was so old, it was basically like your patrol. And
Yeah.
it just
Mm.
like you could try to hyzer flip it and it'll still turn over just because it hit a lot of trees. A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
trees.
Kayla uses the Captain as her max distance. She gets a good flex out of it every time. She loves it.
She
There
might
is
like
an
this
there is an overstable finish to it for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like the Maverick that's just going to float off to the right and be done. It's kind of like is saying faster escape a wrong way of saying it. You
Yep.
almost kind of get that good flex line, but a solid finish at the end out of that Captain. It's
Yeah.
almost like a faster escape if you have the right arm speed for it.
And that trespass, I love it for either hyzer flip or I can get it to just stay on hyzer and just go.
Mhm.
And it's great. And tailwinds, it's very similar to my Raider, which we'll talk about later. But-
So, because you brought up the trespass, I'll bring up my trespass, which I use as kind of my max distance one. It is Lucid Air. As I've mentioned, I like the air plastic. I haven't tried throwing it in the wind a whole bunch, but when I'm trying to just absolutely rip on something that's gonna come back for me, this is what I use. I'll use it for forehand shots where I want to flex something, maybe about like this, which is a 30-45 degree angle, and it'll still come back. It's the 12 speed's probably a little fast for my arm, at least on forehand. On a backhand, I can kind of rip on it with some Annie, and
Mhm.
it'll still come back left. So that's kind of my max distance one that I'll use is my Lucid Air trespass. It's kind of a pinkish reddish, and
It's a great disc.
with a gold stamp. I think I ended up getting this one the same time that I got my Jade. I was so split between getting the Lucid Air trespass and the Jade that I was like,
Why not both?
I'll use one as my player pack, and then I'm just gonna buy the other one. I don't remember which
Yeah.
one I did. I think I bought this one
So-
because I really like the elephant stamp on the Jade.
As
My,
a side
my whole house
note-
has elephants because I love elephants. That's
Nice.
like my favorite animal. So
As a
little
side
little
note,
bit about me there.
my trespass has my backhand PR at, according to UDisc, so internet distance here, 449.
Oh wow.
Not 469 or
I was
420.
like-
No, that would be. I don't think I have anything. Oh, I was close, but I was 9 feet short. But that was with an enforcer.
Yeah. So Joe, what do
Anyway.
you throw in your max distance slot then? I mean, you kind of touched on the trespass, but what are you throwing for your
Trespass,
max
yeah.
distance?
I lean on the Raider hard, real hard, as you
Raider.
can see by the worn out stamp. when I find a disc, I throw the shit out of it.
Was that the one that you bought at the same time as me?
I think so.
Yeah, mine has not gotten that much use.
This, like, I'll throw it on my backhand into a headwind. On my forehand, I will throw it on a big old flex line. This is the one where at a tournament at the River City Open, round 1, I threw, let's see, I forget what hole number it was, but it was a 400 foot, like 410 foot CTP. And I threw pin high 60 feet to the left because I did not accurately read the wind. Round 2, I made the correction and was 2 feet short of an ace. I hit the dirt dead in line with the pole, just short of the basket at over 400 feet. So this is by far like my max distance. And then I have a slightly more stable version. This is the Dimax. I almost said Gold Line. Huck Lab Raider. So it makes me feel like Eagle. Because he throws all that Huck Lab stuff. And I got to say, that stamp is cool. Like,
it is.
Yeah.
So
especially when it's in flight. When it's in
Yes.
flight and you get that rotation on it, it's a cool disc.
And everybody thinks that it's a Discmania, Huck Lab something. But it is the Dynamic Disc Raider. And it is a bit more stable. I don't know if that's because it's the Dimax or the fact that it isn't beat to crap. Or both.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it.
My guess is both.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'll do it.
That's
So my max distance is also a trespass. Like RJ, mine is a Dimax that I did with my dad's karate studio on it. And it turned out really cool with how I did that. Kind of gave it a dyed look to it.
That's what that disc is.
But it is a trespass, and for me, it's definitely max distance. I'm not throwing it into wind because it's definitely too touchy for the wind. But if I have a hole where I just need to, over 400 feet, my max distance probably falls around 420, 430-ish. So for me, that shot is going to be definitely a flexing line. It's going to hold a long way to the right on my backhand before it comes back left. But I can rip on that one pretty good on just a touch of hyzer and let it fly. I love it. That one went for a swim last time I was in Fort Wayne. And a couple months later, someone went for a swim after their disc and happened to find me. I don't know how, because I could have swore I lost that one into the middle of the pond because Joe was with me. I cranked on a great shot. And just as it started to flex back, a huge gust of wind probably brought it up and over a good 30 feet from just the gust of wind.
Mm-hmm.
And of course it was, I don't know if you know Sweeney East all too much, but it's that one where it finishes at the pond. And I thought I played it plenty to the right.
18.
Plenty to the right. Yep, 18. And I thought I was perfectly safe. It was starting to flatten out. It was on its way. It was nose angle down, but just got the right gust of wind that brought it up over and just lost control of it. Because it was, I let it go going, wow, I crushed that. And then the wind had other thoughts on a crosswind that I didn't quite play for. Plus, I didn't think I could make the water from where I was. And
it's tough to make that water.
Well, and I was up on the road. That's when I went OB right. And then I ended up having to come back from the, not highway, but sure feels like a highway when you're standing next to it.
Yeah.
And just crush that one.
So Ben, you mentioned throwing over the water. I have a disc that I call my chicken disc because it is the one that I throw when I am very scared about losing a disc. It was not originally my disc. It was actually your disc.
Yep.
It is a nice yellow beat to hell Innova Beast.
I was going to say Innova Condom. That's the color it is. Like it's
So really quickly, this thing is absolutely beat to hell. It says it's a 10 speed. I suspect at this point it's closer to maybe a 7 speed. But yeah, it is. Looks like there might be some teeth barks in it, that type of thing. It is the oldest disc that I bag.
It was one of the older discs that I bagged for a long time.
Yes. So let's see. I don't recognize the name on it, but they were a 2-time world champion. Looks like a Barry Schultz.
Barry
maybe?
Schultz.
Yeah, Barry Schultz. Hey, how about that?
Yeah, I bought that disc back when I first figured out what flight shirts were. I'm like, oh, that one has a really cool pattern. It's got a big old S on it. Let's buy it and see if I can make it do that.
Yeah.
Yes. So
And
this
that's
this
before
is my
I
water
knew what
disc.
highs or stable and understable even meant. I just saw a
Yes.
picture saying that looks like fun.
Yeah.
And that's where that disc
So this
came
is
from.
my water disc. I have yet to actually throw it into a pond. I'm sure it'll happen at some point, but
That's because it's my disc and doesn't have to do with water. Now, if I'd have given
Yes.
you my shark, it'd have been swimming already. But because it's a
Shark,
beast, it's going to
goat
stay out of the
man.
water
hey,
for you.
hey,
You're fine.
Ben, I have bad news for you. I sent your shark swimming.
Oh, I'm surprised it wasn't already there.
I think I was there. I got one that I don't throw all that often though.
Yeah.
Sheriff. I used to
Oh,
throw my
I've
Sheriff
seen
a
you bomb the
ton.
crap out of that, though.
You saw me bomb the crap out of the blue beat to crap one.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the replacement Metal Flake pink. You can't. The Metal Flakes aren't showing up.
No, it doesn't show through.
No.
It is closer to my Raider than I would have hoped. Again, replacement discs. They're not that great. But I do have my overstable version of it when it's throwing into headwind and it's too much for my Raider, but I still need some distance. I have my Lucid X Chameleon Page Shoe Sheriff Team Series. It is beef. It is very beefy. They're both great discs. I used to bomb the crap out of it backhand. Now it's more forehand. Now the Lucid X, the Page Shoe, is a little more stable than that, but still a fantastic disc for forehand. It is so much fun to throw.
Gotcha. How about your go-to driver? That's stable to maybe overstable, the one that you're going to lean on the most when you throw.
That was my
Joe doesn't
Raider.
have anything understable.
Oh, that's your Raider?
That was my Raider.
Okay. RJ, how about you? What's your kind
hang
of
on.
lean on go-to?
I only have one disc left. Joe,
Okay.
do you have any discs left?
I'm on the same one disc also.
I got technically two, but they're essentially the same mold.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us about your same molds?
Okay.
So the first one is I got a first run adder, and it was really cool, and I didn't want to get rid of the first run, so I bought another one, which is the overstable adder 13504. I was very mad because Latitude 64 has yet to produce a stiletto because it's not a hugely popular disc. Not a lot of pros throw it. If they do, it's a utility disc. And it was my utility disc. It was honestly my utility disc. So when Westside came out with the adder, it fit that slot almost perfectly. It was very close. It was so close. And I wanted it to be that. And then there was the Hand-Eye subscription box that had the Lucid, is it Lucid X?
I think
Or
so.
is it just Chameleon?
Yeah.
Stiletto.
I want to say it was Chameleon and X,
It is,
if I'm not
it is
mistaken.
Chameleon
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Or sorry, would it be VIPX? No.
VIP, I think, with them, technically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or no, VIP is Westside.
No,
Oh,
it would be their Opto.
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 It's all
Sorry.
the same. Let's be honest. Here.
Lucid Opto VIP.
They're all the
Don't
same.
worry, Trilogy. We throw 99% your discs and still don't know what the hell we're talking about with plastic types.
And the stiletto was in my bag for a very long time until it hit way too many trees and was not a stiletto anymore. And I threw it. I threw it a couple times and it turned over. It didn't crash as hard as I want. Now there is a hole 17 at PFW that is a forehand blind shot, and it is perfect for the stiletto. If I am outside of circle 1, it is a very bad throw for me. I parked that hole so much. And then when I didn't have the stiletto anymore, I didn't park it, and now I have the stiletto. And I'm planning to park it again.
Gotcha.
It's
talk.
just a great disc. I threw it in my match play last year in the championship, and I stepped up, and everybody was like, "You just stepped up and threw a forehand flat shot for max distance into a headwind. And everybody was blown away. They're like, that's pro stuff there. That was my stiletto. That is overstable, and I've never seen it go that far or stay that straight.
That wasn't the shot you were trying to throw.
No, that was the shot I was trying to throw.
Yeah,
But
just
when
weren't
you're throwing
expecting it to happen.
5-mile-an-hour headwind, that was the disc. It was like, I was like, I've never thrown that disc over 300 feet in the air. And it just went like 320.
Yeah.
Exactly where I wanted. So great headwind disc.
Yeah. So I have my last mold here that I throw as my kind of go-to to overstable.
Mm-hmm.
My overstable defender is somewhere in Indiana, up in was up in a tree.
It's not up there
We've
anymore.
talked about that one.
No,
It was a white lucid. It was almost like a milky kind of coloration. It was a very pretty disc with like a teal-colored stamp. It was really cool. Never came out of my bag because it was so overstable. It only went right. So much so that it went right before I wanted it to go right on that.
It went right into the tree.
Yeah. So my lean on, my go-to, I bought this disc at the same time as Old Blue is a Biofusion Biofusion Defender.
Very different things there.
I went to a 2-disc challenge saying, I've never thrown Trilogy plastic before. I don't know what I want. And that salesman in that RV sold me for life on that particular Biofusion Defender and that judge. And that's what got me started. That judge I've talked about before is everything in my game. This distance driver, that Biofusion plastic, I've thrown other judges. The Biofusion plastic for me, Defender, sorry, has, like I said, just that gumminess that you like to it. And I can throw that one where I know it's going to come back left. I can get more distance on it if I want, but I know it's going to come back left. For that trespass is touchy. If I need to lean on a disc, I know it's that blue Defender. I also have this kind of watermelon pink Page Pierce Defender.
Oh, that's just like straight up red.
Also Biofusion. This one is an ace disc for me. I got an ace disc on that one. That's actually my most recent ace. It was about 370 uphill into a headwind.
Nice.
And it was one where I threw it. That headwind kind of let me, not hyzer flip, but throw it straight and stay straight, like a hyzer flip kind of line. And then just have that little bit of dump at the end and hit the chains in the air. A little bit uphill the whole way. It's more stable than the blue one. So I throw that one in the wind, but they're very similar shots. Blue, I'm throwing probably 90% of the time that pinkish watermelon into the wind. My white one, if I ever come back with it, is for the heavy winds or heavy movement. But honestly, with the way the felons are flying for me and kind of getting that push out of the felon, I don't necessarily need that one back because they're kind of a similar shot because I'm not throwing that one for huge distance anyways.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, but that finishes out my drivers.
Yeah. So my distance driver that I use the most, other than my Escape, which is apparently not a distance driver, is the 2018 Trilogy Challenge driver, the Octo Musket. It's a blue with a kind of silvery stamp. I don't know how well you can see it, but it is beat to hell at this point. It is the one I was telling you guys, I don't think I've ever thrown a musket on so pretty of a shot in my last round. And for the longest time, it was kind of my overstable dump disc on my, on my forehand and backhand. Now I've started to learn how to throw it a little bit better. And it's one that I, before my trespass, it was kind of my max distance disc. So it's kind of gone through a couple different revolutions for me, but it's my distance driver that I trust the most. Like I said, I have the Lucid Air Trespass, which I don't love throwing in the wind because it's the air plastic. And to really get it to go max distance, I have to put it on quite a bit of Annie. This one I can throw a little bit flatter to, maybe a little bit of Anheuser and get a really nice flight path out of it. Probably a little bit understable for what a musket actually should be at this point. Like I said, it's a 2018 Trilogy Challenge disc. So it's seen some use.
Yep.
Yeah. I took that one out just recently. I had this one in my bag up until this
Mhm.
year. I
Nice.
would agree that musket, when throwing right, you can get some really sneaky distance on. I would say my furthest throw I've ever had is probably with a musket.
Yeah.
I've
And
had a
my
couple that I've really cranked out, and I've had some really pretty shots with that one
yeah,
too.
my
Most notably
furthest
in the
backhand.
trilogy challenge.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Where you
parked a hole I didn't think you could park, and I think I hit the cage, or at least hit something metal off the drive on a hole that's
Yeah.
never been
Heard it.
aced by anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
that disc, like, if I lose my beat to hell trespass, that's where that musket will fit in. But
Yeah,
right, like
it's-
I used to have a musket, and then I was like, well, this is too close to
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
honestly
the one that I trust the most.
Mm-hmm.
If I want something faster than the escape, it is
Yeah.
the disc that I
Yep.
usually pull out.
I'm
I
honestly
said-
surprised you don't hear about more people bagging it, because it is a really, really good disc.
It is. I don't know. Flight pattern wise, in theory, it's actually relatively close to the escape.
And I
It's
think
just
that's the
intensity.
reason.
I think so.
The
I think the
feel of
escape
the
is
escape
so
is just
popular.
better. Well, and the
Mhm.
feel of the escape is so good. Not that the
Yeah.
musket feels bad, but the escape
Mhm.
is so good for a very similar disc
Yep.
that the touch of glide on the escape a lot of times makes up for the speed
Yeah.
of the musket.
Yep.
Well,
for
and,
you,
and just
that-
feeling the rim on it, it's a little bit thicker. It is a little bit. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like I said, it is the disc that I have thrown for the furthest measured distance on my backhand. My Lucid Air Escape I threw on a forehand a little bit further, but which
Yeah.
is, I was gonna say, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But yeah, that's kind of my most dependable, my go-to drive or distance driver, where
Yeah.
I want
I
a
love
very
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good disc.
Mhm.
I feel bad taking it out, but like for me, I have so many explorers that I throw for that shot that if I want
Mhm.
that extra distance, like I'll just go up to the defender if I want that extra distance.
Yeah.
It was kind of
Yeah.
an in-between disc that I found I just wasn't pulling out enough.
Mhm.
Now there
Mhm.
may
Yeah.
be certain courses where that one's going to go back in. That the musket is probably the first disc in and out of my bag.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it's for me, it's just too much of an in between for what I have, but I love it. And if it has that
Mhm.
right shot, it has that right shot for
Yeah.
sure. In my
Yeah.
sake.
And I
Yeah.
want to add that with my bag, with all those random discs I have, my bag is set up for tournament right now. So I just, with the match play going on, I could play anywhere from basically wide open shove to tight PFW fairways. So I have a lot more discs in my bag than I usually carry.
yeah.
Yeah.
The like I said, I threw probably the best shot I've ever thrown with this musket in my last
Mhm.
round, and because I threw it right, and I threw, I tucked my arm on my backhand, and I put it on just a little bit of ante to get that max distance. I threw the prettiest shot I've ever thrown with it, and I ended up probably 40 to 50 feet off into the woods, because it was one that I was expecting it to kind of go and then hyzer out, and I
Mhm.
didn't throw it nose up. I didn't, I didn't get it under my arm. I was so sad about that shot, because I ended up taking a bogey on maybe the prettiest shot that I've ever thrown with it.
Oh, those
Yeah.
are the worst.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think that brings all of our discs to an end here. We had a
Okay.
good talk with, kind of what we saw this last weekend. Next couple
Mhm.
weekends, we have some silver series that I'm sure we'll touch on.
Yep.
Little bit of a
Music City
break
Open.
before one of the bigger, Champions Cups, one of
Mhm.
the bigger, more highly attended majors. So
Yep.
Mhm.
couple
Brand
of
new
interesting
major.
episodes, or gonna be one of the bigger ones, because it
Yes.
hasn't really been there. So,
Now,
but yeah, I think that kind of wraps up today, if I'm not mistaken here.
yeah.
Mhm.
Joe, when can we expect to see your next match play?
Yes.
It's gonna happen.
Can you give us
So,
a time
round-
frame?
Round 1 is the only round where you get 2 weeks to do it, and I finished in the first week. So
Okay.
this whole week, they're still finishing up. The guys, the match that whoever I play the winner, they haven't even played yet. So
Okay.
it's kind of a toss up. This year there were 80 people who were interested. If there was another 20, they would have opened a second bracket, and that would have been really cool.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, so hopefully next year there'll be more people. So it'll be spring break for me at the high school, which will be nice. So I should have some flexibility on when to actually play, but who knows?
Or
I don't
not,
even know who I'm
because
playing.
all of your practices will be spread out.
And then
You'll have 4 practices spread out across 12 hours of the day.
yeah, one of the guys I think is someone I played last year and beat. So who knows?
So he'll be looking for revenge.
Potentially. He was also more concerned. No, I didn't play him last year. The guy I'm thinking of was more concerned about finding mushrooms and mushroom hunting than playing the match, and yet I still went to 3 bonus holes. Well, I was up 3 on him, and then I pissed it away, and then we pushed, and then I won.
Well, there you go. So
Gotcha.
I will say all of my matches are entertaining and will keep you on the edge of your seat because I can't close.
You
don't
could crash
expect
and
them to
burn
be
at any
done.
point.
Don't expect them to be done in 10.
No. Or because we played 24, 12. 13. Math is hard. I went to Catholic school.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So, with that said, I think that does it. We already went over all the socials. Again, follow us at Half in the Bag DG, at Joe's Disc Golf. You can find this podcast.
When in doubt, type Joe's Disc Golf and hope for the best.
Yep.
Yes.
You'll probably find something.
You can find this podcast anywhere you find your major podcast. You can find the video version at Joe or on Joe's YouTube channel / Joe's Disc Golf.
Yep.
Make sure you check out our awesome sponsor, Reaper Discs.
And I'm still working on merch for Half in the Bag, but there's plenty of new stuff with Joe's Disc Golf, including the banana sweatpants and banana shorts, because there's a weird banana pattern that I found that the place that I use offers, and the banana ends up in a really hilarious spot.
The banana is the banana.
There's also leggings for girls. I mean, I guess if you're a boy, you can wear them too, but they're just a fun purple pattern with like confetti on it.
Well,
interesting.
Anyway.
And Joe's Disc Golf across the waist.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness it's not across one of the places it could be wouldn't be bad, but the other one.
There is an option for me to make custom sports bras.
Okay. And with that note.
All right.
Thank
you for taking the time to talk to us today.
All right. It is way too late for us to be doing this shit.
Yes, it is.
Joe, thank you for
11:30.
taking the time to do everything you do.
All right.
I try. I'm gonna pay for it
Listeners and
tomorrow.
watchers, thanks for putting up with our shenanigans.
Yep.
And everyone, enjoy your rounds. Bye.
Bye.